Sure is a notch up from baccalaureate, I'll tell you that. Thank you, Mr. Perry, the faculty, the administration, the board, and everyone here tonight. And congratulations to Lakehill's graduating class of 2019. We did it. I know it's been a while since some of you have been in your last math class, or even thought about math for that matter. And for some of you, it's been more than just a while. But I thought, I want everybody in the audience this evening to picture a graph. Specifically, the 1 over x graph. I know what you're thinking. Huh? How the heck does he think I would know what that looks like? Well, I anticipated this, and I have a picture of the function on the screen behind me. And I know how excited Ms. Rutherford and Ms. McCarty and Ms. Palmer will be when I say this, and in contrast, how disappointed everybody else will be when I say this. But I'm going to be giving a quick math lesson here, so trust me, you won't be tested on any of this information, but I plan to make a point about it, so bear with me. The 1 over x graph is a unique graph because it has something called an asymptote on it. And for that matter, as Ms. McCarty taught us, it actually has 2 asymptotes. One on the x-axis and one on the y-axis. The significance of the asymptote is that the functions never touch them. So, for the 1 over x graph, it will creep closer and closer to the y and x axes, but it will never reach either, no matter how far it travels and no matter how badly it wants to. We all are individually the 1 over x graph, and the axes are different objective constructs that we define success by. And the sad truth is, we often find ourselves chasing these levels of success that are infinite in a time span that is quite finite, our lives. Our 1 over x graphs will end at x equals 75, or 85, or 90 if you took care of yourself. But even at that point, the 1 over x graph still does not touch the x-axis. And likewise, you will still have not reached that unattainable goal of ultimate success. So, what does this all mean? I don't know exactly, but I'm going to give my best shot of explaining the story. About 4 weeks ago, I traveled to the nation's capital for my senior internship, Washington, D.C., to intern for Congressman Lance Gooden, who represents a district that includes some of East Dallas and other counties east of us. While I was there, the staffers really put me to work. I was making spreadsheets to gauge support for bills, greeting lobbyists at the front door, and fielding phone calls from angry constituents complaining about everything from the Mueller investigation to measles vaccinations. Despite getting yelled at in nearly every phone call, for some reason, I loved it. I loved it. And I remember on my last day of work, the Friday before I headed back to Dallas, one of the legislative aides in the office, Brock, gave me a ride back to the place I was staying at, and he told me something that had a profound impact on me. I thought I'd share it with you today. Brock told me about some of his friends who were finance and accounting majors making upwards of $70,000 or $80,000 right out of college, where he had to start as an intern in the office for 6 months before he even got a salary that was half of what his friends were making. But he told me that he loved it, and so it was worth it. And at that point, I was thinking, maybe I should switch to being a finance or accounting major. What am I getting myself into? But as I thought about it some more later, I realized that I was exactly where I needed to be. And like I said, while I'm sure I don't have this life lesson entirely figured out, I will tell you what I think I know, and you can take it or you can leave it, up to you. If you live your life like the 1 over x graph, you will always be a slave to the x-axis, and you will never realize all the important things that you missed along the way. I am no outlier, math pun intended. I have also found myself in this situation where I am trapped in the cyclic monotony of living and doing things for some unattainable metric that I think will somehow reward me in the future the more I pursue it or if I ever reach it. But that unattainable metric that we call success is something that we can never fully fulfill. And so the question begs itself, why do we try to pursue success then? To make our friends and family proud? To support them? To make sure they don't have to work as hard? But in the meantime, when you're swamped trying to ensure all these things, you've forgotten about yourself, and you have become a slave to the unattainable x-axis. And so, the solution that I have derived from my extended metaphor and in my anecdote is as follows. Focus on a goal that can be obtained, making yourself happy and content with how you spend your time. Each one of us, individually, are the only ones that can do this for ourselves. So it's up to you. And I've come up with a 3-step plan for how you can enact this for yourself. And this goes for everyone, parents, students, and the class of 2019. The first is to evaluate what you're doing now. These are the questions you need to be asking yourself. How do I spend the majority of my time? And does what I do make me happy? And a good way to decide that for yourself, at least for the parents in the room, is asking yourself if you would do this thing and you would be happy doing it if you weren't getting paid doing it or you weren't getting any perks. If the answer is yes, I applaud you. And you have my permission to tune me out for the rest of this. If not, keep listening. The next step is to make a change. And while change is one of the scariest phenomena we encounter in our lives, it's crucial that when you realize a change is necessary, you act upon it. Routine is something that most of us have adapted to find comfort in. And routine's fine, I'm not bashing it. I'm merely suggesting that if your routine has you answering the questions in step 1 with a no, I invite you to venture towards making a change in your life that has you answering the question with an emphatic yes. And the final step in my plan is to evaluate yourself after the change with the same questions as you evaluated yourself in step 1. Now, am I happy? Would I do this thing if I weren't getting paid to do it now? And if the question again is no, then revisit step 2 as many times as you need to. These are the steps that I plan to employ in my everyday life this fall in college. Right now, I'm happy that I'm going to be studying political science and international affairs. However, if for some reason I decide I like accounting, then that is what I'll pursue. This is because, from now on, I refuse to be the 1 over x graph, and I invite each of you to follow my 3 steps so you are not also a slave to the x-axis of the unattainable goal of success. Do you want to spend more time with your family? Do you want to travel? Do you want to go back to school? Do you want to be a writer? Do you want to be a scientist? Do you want to be a leader? Do it. As William Ernest Henley once said 400 years ago, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And you can be the master of your fate, and you can be the captain of your soul. Best of luck to my classmates next year, and best of luck to everyone in their pursuit of happiness. Thank you.